Hi, I'm Doug Oster from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Welcome to Digging with Doug. It's a perpetual thread with our videos. We're dodging the raindrops. And today we're starting a job that actually takes months to complete. We're planting bulbs. And we start now in September. And as the season goes on, we get those bulbs cheaper and cheaper and plant all the way up to maybe January, depending on when the ground freezes. But one thing we're not going to use is this tool. We talked about it last week. It makes bulb planting very difficult unless you're in just the very best soil, so that's gone. And first thing I did was look in my journal to see where we needed bulbs. This is a gardener's journal. I co-wrote this, but you could use a notebook, other types of journals. What's nice about this is that there's lots of information in here about what's being planted, but it also becomes a little diary. You get to write about how you're feeling, what you're planning, that sort of thing. I've got these back to the 80s filled with information about my kids that I would have completely forgotten. So it's a good idea to keep records. I find this will be, hopefully, a legacy to pass on to my kids. So let's talk about the tool that we're going to use, and that's a bulb auger. And it's just a giant drill bit, basically, fits right in the drill. And that's going to drill our holes for us, and we can plant 100, 200, 300, maybe even 1,000 bulbs in one sitting without too much trouble. So let's get to work. I've got this area right here from my journal that I know needs bulbs, and we're going to start planting them, and I'll show you how. What we're going to try and do here is just make little drifts, which means just a kind of a big area. We don't want to put the bulbs into lines. We're just going to kind of kick out some of these leaves and see how it looks. You know, a lot of times where we plant is determined on what the soil is like. If I get in here and there's lots of rocks and there's lots of roots and such, I'll move a little bit, change things around a little bit. But I'm going to kind of make a little area here that I know needs bulbs. The soil's really dry, and it usually is this time of the year. Now, these bulbs are being planted in woodland soil. The most important thing to remember is that bulbs need a place to dry out during their dormant period. After they bloom in the early spring, then they want to dry out. So if you plant tulips and then want to cover them with impatiens, you're going to be watering those impatiens all summer, and you're going to be drowning those bulbs underneath. So let's see how the soil is, and we'll start drilling in there, and hopefully this will be a good spot for some daffodils. And I've got bags and bags and bags and bags of daffodils to plant. I got them from a friend, and I want to get as many as I can in early because I'm going to keep planting, as I said, all the way through January. So let's see what we got in here. It's a combination of dirt and daffodils. That's no good. There's a nice one. Now, when you're choosing your daffodils in the store, try and get the biggest one. Sometimes they'll have a big bin of bulbs for you to plant. Look for the biggest bulbs. And if you're ordering them online, use a good reputable bulb supplier like Brent & Becky's or White Flower, just a good name that tells you how big the bulbs are, because the bigger they are, the better it is for you. So let's see how we're going to do this. You know, not as many bulbs in here as I thought. This is going to be easier than I thought. Now there's a nice sized bulb. That's got 3 blooms in it right there. And you can see the 3 little sides. So not too bad. We're planting the bulbs about 3 times as deep as the actual bulb is. But especially with daffodils, it's not that important. Sometimes you just can't get deep enough, and we're just looking for a good spot. I'm going to tighten this up again. This is the one problem, is it's hard on the drill. Once you get going and once you find some good soil, you can pound them out. Never drill with your cord all the way around your drill. Keep it behind you if you can. Believe me, I've done that many, many times. I'm planting a lot of daffodils here in these woods. I'm trying to fill them completely up with daffodils. Where I grew up, where my grandparents are buried and other family members, is Lakeview Cemetery in Cleveland, and they have a thing there called Daffodil Hill. And when I visited as a kid, I was just profoundly affected by all those daffodils. That had been started in the 1940s. And so when I moved to this garden here in Pittsburgh, I told my mom that I was going to build my own Daffodil Hill in memory of my grandparents, and that means adding at least 1,000 bulbs a year. It seems like a tough project, but as you add year after year after year, every spring, it's just wonderful. Whether you put 1,000 in or just 100 or just 10, this is the time of the year to get some bulbs in, because you're going to be so happy you did. After that long winter, when these things bloom, it's heaven. Well, that's one bag planted. That wasn't too tough. That's 2 drifts. Let's go up and get the other bags, but I want to show you some fertilizing and some other varieties that you can try. Here are some of the other kind of bulbs that you can plant. If it's tulips, you know, there's parrot tulips here, which are just really cool looking. Grape hyacinths. This one is just a light blue. You can't kill a plant like that. It's just going to keep spreading and spreading and spreading. These golden yellow crocuses are one of my favorites. They remind me of my mother. She just had this little patch of yellow crocuses right at the front door, and so every year I'm always putting some yellow crocuses in, and when they bloom, of course, I think of her. Alliums are from the onion family. Here's a white one and a purple one, and they bloom in mid-May. They're tall and globular and beautiful. There's just all sorts of different things. These are called split corona daffodils, and they're one of my favorites. Just have a very different look for daffodils. Now, there's other ways to plant bulbs besides a bulb auger, and I'll demonstrate that in a second. And that's where we're going to use this organic fertilizer called Bulb Tone. It's made by Espoma. They make garden tone, flower tone, holly tone, all these products that are great for the garden. But for years, we were taught to use bone meal with our bulbs, but we found out that attracts rodents. And so for the daffodils, bone meal will be fine because rodents won't eat daffodils, but for crocuses and tulips and hyacinths and other bulbs, they might. So we don't want to use the bone meal. That's where we use Bulb Tone. So come on back, we have some good soil back here that I'll show you a different way to plant bulbs. Now what we've done here is we've excavated an area, just a small area for about 10 bulbs. And at the bottom we put compost in there to give good drainage and also to add fertility. And then we're going to add our Bulb Tone in there also, and then we'll put our bulbs in. And so this is, when we have good soils, a lot of times I'll do it this way. Just sprinkle a little bit of that in. And now we'll just place our bulbs in. These are those split corona daffodils, and they're going to love it right here. And I'm going to love seeing them bloom next spring, that's for sure. You know, a lot of times gardeners, we don't like mixes. We like all the same thing, but when it comes to daffodils, I think mixes are fine because they're basically all the same colors. There's shades of white and yellow. It looks great. And you see that I'm planting these pretty close together, but they're going to have everything they need here, and they're going to look great when they bloom. And then we'll just cover them over with the soil that was there. All right, split corona daffodils are in. We got a lot done today. This is the time of the year we're doing a lot of planting, bulbs, perennials, and next week it's going to be trees. I'm going to show the proper method to plant a tree. We want to plant all these things now so that we can enjoy them in the spring. Now remember, if you've got a question about Digging with Doug, log on to www.post-gazette.com/homes and click on the gardening forum button. I'd love to talk to you there. Also, you can see my blog and some other videos at the PG Plus site, which is a members only site. Till then, I've got bags and bags and bags of daffodils to plant. So that's next. Pound them out. Biggest pain is when you come across long roots like that. There's poison ivy in here too, by the way.